Panic at the Disco. What is that? Well, actually, there's probably less people wondering that now because Panic at the Disco has actually gotten pretty popular these days. But anyway, for those of you who still don't know, Panic at the Disco is a pop rock band. Or it was a pop. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna explain this all a bit later. But it originated as a pop rock band, with well, originally it was a 4-person group, consisting of Brendan Urie, Ryan Ross, Spencer Smith, and Brent Wilson, who were apparently childhood friends. Now, yeah, originally it was a pop rock band that somehow was associated with being emo. I don't actually know how, but I still don't really know what the whole deal with what emo music actually is, but I know that whenever emo music is talked about, Panic at the Disco is always like one of the first bands that gets talked about in that context. It's kind of like one of the big three of emo music by the sounds of it, including the other two being Fall Out Boy and My Chemical Romance. But yeah, Panic at the Disco, I don't know. I don't know the whole deal with emo, but I do know that Panic at the Disco has since changed its sound quite a bit over the years. And as for the 4 childhood friends, after the release of Panic's very first album, which was A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, the bassist of the band, Brent Wilson, was fired. I don't actually know why, and was replaced by another guy called John Walker. Then, after the release of their second album, Pretty Odd, Ryan Ross, who I believe was he was the backing vocalist, guitarist, and keyboardist of the band. He and John Walker apparently left the band due to different ideas on the direction that the band's sound would go in, which was brought about by Brendan, who wanted to change the sound further. Then they released a third album, Vices and Virtues. At this point, Brendan Urie and Spencer Smith, the drummer of the band, was the only one who was... They were the only 2 original band members left. So they then made their third album, Vices and Virtues. And surprisingly enough, none of the original members actually left this time. They left the one after that. On Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die, Spencer Smith unofficially left the band due to health and drug-related issues. And then he permanently left in 2015. And then from that point onwards, Panic at the Disco has pretty much just been Brendan Urie's solo project. Brendan Urie, who was always the lead vocalist of the band, is the only original member that's still in it. Yeah, I think, yeah, and since then, he's released 2 more albums as a solo act, Death of a Bachelor and Pray for the Wicked. So, pretty much, what I am going to do in this, I guess for now I'm going to call it Panic at the Disco retrospective, I suppose, where pretty much what I'm going to be doing, every episode I'm going to look at one of their albums in chronological order, go through all of their songs, say what I think about all of them, and give them... I'm probably going to hate myself for this, but I'm going to give them a score out of 10. I hate... Okay. I'm a be honest with you. I'm not a fan of giving art pieces a score out of 10 because I feel like the ultimate number is kind of arbitrary, but like I guess like I'm gonna do this for like comparison's sake. For the sake of comparing the other songs. And also, I'm going to structure this a little bit differently. Well, pretty much this is how the scoring is going to be structured. So pretty much a score between 7 and 10, including 7 and 10, means that I like the song and I can see myself going out of my way to listen to it. Any score between 6.5, or no, any score between 4 and 6, including 4 and 6, means that I think the song is rather meh. As in, I don't see myself going out of my way to listen to it, but if it just shows up on the radio, I'll still listen to it. I won't like skip it or anything like that. I'll still listen to it. And pretty much any score below 4 means that not only will I not go out of my way to listen to the song, but if it shows up on the radio or Spotify or whatever, I'm much more inclined to just skip it or just change the channel rather than listen to it. So yeah, that's pretty much how I'm gonna be structuring this. So, with that in mind, let's move to Panic at the Disco's very first album, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, which was released in 2005. 2005. So, yeah, they've been around for a while. Panic has made 6 albums, and so we're going to be starting at the very first one, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. And also, just a bit of a disclaimer. So this album is structured, I guess, kind of like a cabaret show or something like that, or like a musical or something like that. And as such, two of the tracks in this album are named Introduction, which is the very first song of the album, and Intermission, which is like in the very middle. Now the thing is, these two songs are not actually songs. They're kind of just like idle music that plays. So I'm not actually going to be counting Introduction or Intermission as actual songs. So I'm just going to skip the introduction and just move straight on to the first actual song of the album, which is called The Only Difference Between Martyrdom and Suicide is Press Coverage. That's the whole title. Like, that's a very long title. That's actually another thing. That is one connection that I've made as far as emo bands and emo songs, is that they tend to have pretty long titles. Like, absurdly, like, unnecessarily long titles. And the thing is, this isn't even the longest title in the album. Like, I'll point it out once we actually get to it. But yeah, keep in mind, the only difference between Martyrdom and Suicide is Press Coverage is not the song with the longest title in this album. Oh, and also, just a little side note, I was looking up, like, the Genius lyrics, stuff, of each song, so that I'd be able to follow along and get a bit more information on what the song's about, what the lyrics are all about, all of that kind of stuff, right? I looked up Panic at the Disco Genius lyrics, and the first thing that came up was the lyrics for Crazy Equals Genius. I don't know if that has anything to do with, like, search results, or if that's the case for everybody, but Crazy Equals Genius was the first one that came up, and I was kind of surprised by that, because as far as I know, that's not exactly one of their most popular songs. Anyway, whatever. The only difference between Martyrdom and Suicide is Press Coverage. Okay, so, what I thought about it, I liked the intro with the guitar. Like, it starts off with an acoustic guitar sound, and then, like, an electric guitar comes in as well. I actually really liked the intro of that. It was pretty cool. It was pretty nice. Um, so when Brendan started singing, um, the lines and well, yeah, the lines were very wordy. Like, and what I mean by wordy is like there was a lot of syllables crammed into one line. Um, it was almost as though like he was just trying to fit all of the syllables into like the rhythm, but it was really weird sounding. Um, I'll say the chorus was catchy. Some of Brendan's inflections sounded a bit weird in it, but the bridge really catchy. I was quite a fan of that. Um, it is worth mentioning that because this was the first song that the first album that Panic had made, it makes sense that like, and because at that point Brendan was only 17 when he had made this, it makes sense that he wouldn't be at his best in this album. But it sounds like he's trying to strain in a few instances. And also, I wrote another note that was just like, I can't get over how wordy it all is. It's so wordy. And this is coming from someone who gets called out all the time for using big words. Imagine imagine using like a bunch of big words, like, and when I say big words, I mean more like like a lot of like 3-syllable words, and like try to cram them into like the rhythm of a song. And uh it's a song that's pretty fast paced because remember, this is pop rock. Um it's a very fast tempo, and so he's trying to like fit all of the stuff in. And I know that you can say that about like rapping and that, but like this is faster, and it was like he was also singing at the same time, like trying to sing like with each syllable in different pitches and that. Um apparently the title is a quote from a novel that's called Survivor. And this was where I found out that apparently all of the song titles are inside jokes, which explains like they're inside jokes in the way of they are like usually they're like quotes that are taken from novels or movies that the band members really liked. So that's kind of why a lot of these titles they don't really make immediate sense. They make some kind of sense, but it's like you really need to look for it. But anyway, the song's all about how apparently they're aiming to shake up the music industry, which to be fair, they kind of did do with being one of the big three of emo music, you know? But they'll only shake up the music industry if the fans swear to listen. The implicit message, is apparently that whether a person's death is deemed important or not is dependent on that person's personal merit. Yeah. So anyway, overall, I would give this song a solid 7 out of 10. It's catchy. I would say it's a good intro to the album. But it's pretty, like, the lyrics are pretty egotistical in a lot of ways. Like, hold on, let me see if I can, like, get up one. Let me see if I can find something. Uh... Um... okay, so I suppose that one example is like, well, I mean, swear to shake it up if you swear to listen. Always still so young, desperate for attention. I aim to be your eyes, trophy boys, trophy wives. Or another example is like, applause, applause, no, wait. Dear studio audience, I have an announcement to make. It seems the artists these days are not who you think, so we'll pick back up on that on another page. Yeah, it's like, some of this stuff is like decently egotistical, you know? And the verses are very wordy. Like, it's like, if you listen to the song, you would get what I mean, but it's like, yeah, it's like he's trying to cram in as many syllables as possible, but it doesn't really sound like it really works with the rhythm. But anyway, still, 7 out of 10. Now, let's move on to the second song of this album. London Beckoned Songs About Money Written by Machines. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if some people didn't even make sense of that sentence, because it's like, it's a weird one. Anyway, I will say, it's a very explosive opening. I can get behind an explosive opening. It's still very wordy. The chorus is nice. I just wouldn't say that it's quite as good as the first song. A matter of fact, actually, this song is somehow even wordier than the first one. The bridge is really nice, though. The bridge is really nice, although I will say that it seems a tad disjointed from the rest of the song. It's almost like we took a bit of a detour and then came back. I suppose that's not necessarily a bad thing, now that I think about it. Anyway, nice bridge. So, this song is apparently all about critics and people disapproving of them, which seems a little bit odd, because, like, wasn't this their first album? Like, I mean, like, the first song was kind of all about, like, preaching to the fans, like, oh, like, we'll swear to shake it up if you swear to listen. And now this one is all about how, like, people don't approve of the band. And it's like, did they expect to be loved or hated, or both? Yeah. And apparently they don't want to be immediately judged for their different style. So when they say different style, that depends, like, when they say different style, do they mean a different style in comparison to other popular music that was going on at the time? Or are they talking about, like, the song, like, the sound of the band itself changing over time? Because, remember, this is the first album. That hadn't happened yet. Was it a prediction of the future? Did Brendan always know that he was going to change the sound, or what? Maybe he actually is just talking about, like, the sound is different from other... Like, okay, let me look at this up. So, okay, so I'm looking up the Billboard year-end Hot 100 singles of 2005. So, let's go... So, let's say the top 10 songs of 2005 were We Belong Together by Mariah Carey, Hollaback Girl by Gwen Stefani. All the girls don't do cause they ain't gonna happen like that, cause they ain't no hollaback girl, ain't no hollaback. I didn't realize that was 2005. Let Me Love You by Mario? Mario? What are you doing here? Oh, wait. Okay, this guy's American. I got disappointed. Anyway, Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson, 1-2 Step by Ciara featuring Missy Elliott, Gold Digger by Kanye West featuring Jamie Foxx, Boulevard of Broken Dreams by Green Day. Oh, okay. Wow, okay, so that was actually a pretty popular song. Candy Shop by 50 Cent featuring Olivia, Don't Char by the Pussycat Dolls featuring Busta Rhymes, and Behind These Hazel Eyes by Kelly Clarkson. Okay. Yeah, okay. I see how some of this stuff, how Panic would probably be a bit different. Also, I just realized that Mariah Carey also has a song called Shake It Off. And Mr. Brightside was there as well. Okay, I feel as though out of all of, like, the sounds of the band, like, out of all the sounds of different stuff, I feel as though, like, Mr. Brightside is probably the closest to Panic at the Disco. Like, I always kind of got reminded of that. But, oh, and also Feel Good Inc. Is on here. Sugar We're Going Down by Fall Out Boy. Yeah. This is interesting. This is interesting. This is very interesting indeed. Apparently there was a song that was just called Oh in 2005. It's a bit interesting. Anyway, yeah, so I'm guessing that they're probably talking about their sound being different to others, because it definitely was. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I would ultimately give this song a 6.5. Which, I'm going to say, is still, like... Okay. So, here's my thoughts on it, alright? The reason why it's a 6.5 is that, like, it's a catchy song. It's mostly below the first song because it's even wordier, and the melodies seem to get a bit stale more quickly. And it seemed to have less going on than the first song. Still a good song. I could see myself going out of my way to listen to it again. Which is why it's not just a 6, because, yeah, I guess I would change my structuring a little bit to emphasize, basically, anything above 6 is in the top bracket. I reckon that's fair. 6.5 out of 10. Not quite as good as the first one, but still a good song. Okay, so the next song in the album is Nails for Breakfast, Tacks for Snacks. Okay, so I'm just going to address the elephant in the room here. The auto-tune in this song is done so badly. This song is known for it having auto-tune. And the thing that I've found with Brendan Urie is that he doesn't really use auto-tune. Mostly because he doesn't need it. Why he chose to use auto-tune in this song, I have absolutely no clue. Because it sounds so bad. It sounds like, I would say listen to it to get an idea, but, like, it just sounds really bad. And I feel as though people who are more musically inclined than me would probably hate this even more. So, I'd been doing a bit of extra research about the song, and apparently, the reason why... So, he was using auto-tune, but not so that he could sing in pitch, because, you know, he was already able to do that. It was apparently because he, like, it was like, pretty much, what he did was, like, it was, okay, so, it was done, the auto-tune was done in a way that if he were to go from one note and then to the next, regardless on where that note was, it would just immediately jump to that next note, which made it sound very robotic, and apparently that was supposed to enhance the overall message of the song and what it was all about. The problem with this is that it sounds terrible when that's done. It sounds so bad. It's like, Like, for, like, a good long while, I was kind of just, like, dumbstruck by just how bad it was. Like, okay, the song is still really wordy, which has basically been a problem that every single song has had. But unlike the first two songs, this one, like, the wordiness isn't even the worst part of it. Basically, okay, so here's a good way of summarizing this song, Nails for Breakfast, Stacks for Snacks. Basically, everything I had to criticize about the previous songs are still present, but with terrible auto-tune, much more boring instrumentals, and nothing interesting to the song. Evidently, I don't like this one. Apparently the song is about Ross's father, who battled with alcoholism and criticized his son's career choices. And look, some people say that they love the message of this song. For me, I don't think that this message is good enough to excuse how terrible it sounds. It sounds bad. I know that there was like... So, I know one particular guy on YouTube who... his main channel is like... it's all about critiquing music. And to be fair, I would say he understands music better than me. I'm mostly just a layman who has an opinion on things, but... Wait, what am I talking about? No, I'm a musical master. I know everything. Everything I say about music is 100% correct. Anyway, yeah, no. His name is Brad Taste in Music. And, pretty much his philosophy on the sound of a song versus I guess, the message of it is, if you... Essentially, what the song is about and the message of the song doesn't really matter if it sounds like crap. And for me, it's mostly because if I think a song sounds like crap, I'm not gonna bother looking up the lyrics to the song and finding out what motivated the artist to make this song, because I don't like it. And also, I've heard people say, like, hear the song live. Like, okay, so I've heard a lot of people say that like, Panic at the Disco songs sound better live, which on the one hand is actually a really good thing for the band, because it means that they're just as good live as they are in the studio, which I can tell, and possibly even better. And I can tell you, as far as Brendan Urie's singing, that is 100% true. Like, I would say he's, like, one of the best singers particularly in the pop industry right now. He's very consistent, he's very good, he's got a very good range. He's got a very distinct voice, so you can identify it whenever you hear it. So that's very good for him. However, I will say, the reason why people say that it sounds better live is because they don't have the auto-tune in it, obviously. But honestly, even live and without the auto-tune, the song is still incredibly boring, with nothing interesting to say, and all the same faults that the other songs have. And it's for that I'm giving this song a 2 out of 10. I honestly wasn't expecting to give out a 2 out of 10 this quickly, but yeah. Even if it weren't for the auto-tune, it would, like... If there was no auto-tune, the song would probably still be just like a 3. But with it, it drops in quality so much. Anyway, moving on to the next song, Camisado. It starts off very shouty, which I don't think sounds as good. The instrumental is nice. The chorus isn't that explosive, so it feels pretty monotone throughout this song. And it's at this point I realize, well, actually, no. It's worth mentioning in this song in particular that Brendan's vocals sound good when he's not trying too hard to hit a high note. The song's more about Ross's father and his inability to move on from his problems with, like, alcoholism and all that. depicting his anger through a depiction of the worst aspects of this hospital, this hypothetical hospital that he's in, which is also brought up in the previous song. Yeah, it's a pretty average song. It's I give it a 5 out of 10. It's definitely better than the last song, like way better, but there's still nothing too memorable about it. However, I will say that the instrumental throughout is actually very nice. I really like the instrumental. So, yeah, gets a 5. Next up is Time to Dance. So, okay, first of all, it's at this point I realized, like, what are with all of these lyrics? They all seem to be very focused on attention. Like, the first song also references, like, a desperation for attention quite a few times, actually. Yeah, a lot of these lyrics seem to have something to do with attention. I don't know. But I imagine that Freud would be having a field day with that idea. Um, okay, I will ask the question, what was with that instrumental at the beginning? Like, I don't even know how to really describe it, but it just sounds so bad. And there's a lyric in the song, in the chorus, that's like, pulling the trigger, pulling the trigger. It just sounds really grating to the ear. And I bring up again that the instrumental in this song is so bad. Like, Um, there's a bit, there's a bit in this song where Brendan starts like this call repeat thing. It's like, the actual lyric is like, you say shotgun, I say wedding. Wait, no. Other way around. I say shotgun, you say wedding. But it's like, he does it to himself. Like, he does it with himself. It's like, shotgun, wedding. But it's like he's doing both parts, which bit weird. Usually when a song has a call response in it, they usually will have like some other voice do the response, but nah. Weird. Um and another thing that's worth mentioning about like Brendan Urie's voice is like obviously he gets a lot better at singing in later albums. One thing in particular is his falsetto gets a lot stronger in later albums. In this song in particular, it's extremely weak. Like, it's so weak that you can tell when he uses it. Um, because it's like, actually, it might just be like a really huge, like, whiplash type of thing. Because most of the songs, he's like belting the whole time. Like, I'm imagining pretty loudly. And then falsetto, it's like so much lighter, so much softer, and it's like, what the heck? And then he goes right back to belting. It's like, it's really weird. It's such a screechy chorus. Uh, and it ultimately, it doesn't put me in a dancing mood at all, despite the fact that the song is called Time to Dance. Apparently, the song's based on the events of the novel Invisible Monsters. Apparently, it's like there are these two supermodels, I think. One of them snaps and ends up killing the other one at her own wedding. And the protagonist is apparently mourning her career, her beauty, and later, the person that she killed's death. But also celebrating her new freedom, being a new person and her new lifestyle, which sounds great, but in a way I feel like the message of the song is kind of like the themes of a movie. It's like, it's kind of a buzzword that people like to use to make a piece of art come across as being a lot more eloquent than, or a lot, like, much better than it actually is. In the case of movies, people like to say that, like, here's the thing, in a movie and in a song, themes will always be present. Humans like to find patterns in things, and in particular, they tend to find themes for things a lot. Like, even if they're not really looking for it, they'll find them. And some people seem to have this idea that just because a piece of art has a theme in it that you highlight and you back it up with evidence, like it's an English assignment, that's an indication that this piece of art is like, it's an indication of quality. I'm not saying that a song or a movie that has themes in it is bad, because as I mentioned before, uh, they're in a lot of stuff. In particular, Lord of the Rings, I would say, has like some very obvious themes, but I reckon it's done really, really well. So yeah, just because a movie or a song has a theme, doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, but it also doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. Like, the fact that a piece of art has a theme in it is not an indication of quality, which I think is something to remember when it comes to the meaning behind a song. I'm kind of curious. I'm not necessarily sure if this is the case, but do you know of any songs? Does anyone know of any songs that uh, sound bad from like an instrumental singing perspective, but actually becomes like a good song when you know what it's all about? That's what I'm wondering. Is there any song that you can think of where it is bad until it until you find out what it's about, and then it becomes good? That's what I'm wondering. But anyway, Time to Dance, I give it a 2.5 out of 10. Like, the instrumental and vocals combined with this song was so cacophonous that it was just like, the elements seemed like they were competing against each other, and it sounded really, really bad. I don't care what the message was about, it sounded bad. Anyway, the next song. Line is the most fun a girl can have without taking her clothes off. That is not something that I'm just saying. That's the title of the song. That's not just a statement that I uphold, alright? Anyway. So the first thing to mention about this song is that the vocal rhythm is a bit weird. I'm not sure if I would say it's wordy, it's just a bit weird. The opening verse, though, is quite nice. It's very nice. Because I believe at this point the instrumental's kind of toned back. I think it's just like, it's like just the bass and the drums, just the drum and bass, and obviously Brendan singing. But it sounds really nice. The chorus is kind of underwhelming. And this is where I bring up the falsetto thing again, because the chorus of this song is like, it starts off like testosterone boys and harlequin girls. Now, for most of that line, he's singing like roughly the same notes as it goes along. But then when it gets to the harl of harlequin girls, he goes up into falsetto and then goes back into belting. It sounds bad. Like, the combination of like a very weak falsetto, like going from belting to a very weak falsetto back to belting immediately, it's like, I wouldn't say it's tonal whiplash, it's like auditory whiplash. It's like belt, 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 falsetto, belt, 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 like, you know. I will also say there's like this, I don't know what it is, but there's some kind of instrument that goes on that's like, it makes like kind of an echo sound throughout the song. That sounds really nice. And it kind of made me think that more songs should actually have that sound in it, because it sounds good. Anyway, so this movie, getting a bit ahead of myself. This song is from the movie Closer, or rather the title is from the movie Closer, which is a movie that's all about this couple that's like sleeping around, lying, cheating, and everything else to each other. It features Natalie Portman and another big name, Natalie Portman and Jude Law. And there's a bit. So this is actually a direct quote from the movie. Natalie Portman's character says this. She says, "Line is the most fun a girl can have without taking her clothes off, but it's better if you do." It's worth mentioning that, spoiler alert, the next song of this album is "But It's Better If You Do." Anyway, so the song is of like anger towards an unfaithful girlfriend. This one I would say the lyrics help more with the purpose of the song. I kind of got it a bit better, and it definitely changed my thought on what the song was about. Because originally I thought that this was about like an ex who was just like a bit jealous. So he was like, "Oh, like you moved on to another guy. That's fine. I was always better than him anyway, so it's fine." This one, it's a bit more sympathetic because now it's actually not a fact that this guy's angry because the girl broke up with him and moved to someone else. It's because she was actually cheating on him, which, changes things a bit. Anyway, overall, I'd give this a 4.5 out of 10. There are parts in the song that I like, and there are parts that I really don't like, but I feel as far as I'm concerned, the bad is pretty noticeable, and the good is just pretty meh. So I would say the bad slightly outweighs the good, which is why it doesn't get a passing grade. Okay, so because I ended up recording this video for a solid hour, which was way longer than I intended it to, I'm going to cut it in half and split it into 2 parts. So come back next time for the second part of my review of Fever You Can't Sweat Out. And yeah, have a good one, guys.